Well, hello, everybody. My name is Paul Palan. I'm the product educator here at DMF Lighting. Today, we're going to be going over our wildlife-friendly lighting solutions webinar. So we're going to talk a bit, or mostly about some different wildlife-friendly lighting standards that are out there, including both dark sky lighting standards, turtle-safe lighting standards, as well as bird-friendly lighting standards. There are a lot of similarities between all three of these wildlife-friendly lighting standards. And before we get into that, I'm going to just go over a little bit of the concept of artificial light at night and some of the problems that come out from there. And then we'll wrap everything up by talking about some of DMF's wildlife-friendly lighting solutions. So first, just to start off with, artificial light at night is a concept that is really grown throughout time as humans have really built up the developed world. So it's come out for obviously a number of reasons. Its uses include safety and helping us navigate the world around us. Security is another big one for people, as well as just creating sort of decorative elements as well. As we've built up cities, there's numerous opportunities to introduce light in the nighttime environment. However, with that said, a large majority of artificial light at night is really sort of excessive and poorly planned in many cases. Whether it's the distribution of the lighting fixture, the placement, the number of lighting fixtures, the overall amount of light, all of those things can really sort of build up and compound and create an excessive use of light in the nighttime environment. And that irresponsible use can really cause a whole host of problems. So, sorry, my clicker way. So, both for humans and and wildlife that live in the natural environment, those problems can really be sort of very widespread. So it can range from the disruption of hormones and circadian rhythms. So our biology is very attuned to light and is very sensitive to sort of the natural rhythm of the sun. So introducing really bright, especially cool color temperatures in the nighttime environment can really disrupt some of those key biological processes. There's displacement of animals from their natural habitats. So as we build up the environment and light it in the nighttime, animals are going to be less likely to congregate or live in areas that have excessive nighttime lighting in them. It can interfere with animals' navigation and migration. So we'll talk a little bit more about some of those different issues later on in specific species, but really can cause all sorts of problems with how they navigate their world. And it can impact human beings as well. The first example that I pointed out with hormone production, circadian rhythms, is sort of universally applicable in terms of biological species. So it definitely applies to humans. And there are certain safety risks of poorly planned lighting as well. So if you have very high glare fixtures, that, for one example, that can really reduce safety in one way. So there's no shortage of really sort of negative impacts that come from irresponsible or poorly planned artificial lighting installations. So the three standards that we're going to go through all have different ways or different points of combating some of these. So to start out, we'll talk about dark sky. Dark Sky International is an organization that, in their words, they work to educate and restore the nighttime environment and protect against harmful effects of light pollution. So they have a number of different mechanisms or ways that they operate in. Dark Sky runs a number of programs, including the Dark Sky Places. So this is something that's going to help certify either geographical locations, municipalities, cities, towns, even things like sports arenas. All sorts of different places can get a dark sky certification, certifying that they meet the different standards that are set forth from the Dark Sky International. They also have a means and mechanisms of writing codes and ordinances, so they will help local chapters, local municipalities adopt dark sky ordinances so that they can, as a jurisdiction, adopt and install dark sky friendly lighting systems throughout their entirety of that location. They also run a dark sky approved fixtures program. So this is going to be something that's going to apply to or can be applied from lighting manufacturers. So they can get that dark sky approved seal that you see there applied to any of their fixtures, so that those fixtures are going to be then again assured to be safe for use in any of these dark sky compliant installation. They also maintain, and very importantly, the 5 principles for the responsible use of artificial light at night. So those 5 principles are laid out here. So the first and foremost rule of this, or these sets of principles, is number 1, that light be useful. So really to use light only if it's needed, and it should have a clear purpose. So whether it's, making an area safe, making it visible, we don't want to use light just for sort of mere decoration or, without any thoughtful consideration. You really want to make sure that it's useful. Second is that light should be targeted. So this is really in reference to the distribution of the light. It should fall really only where it's needed. So we're concentrating the light, using the proper beam distribution and the proper placement so that we're not expanding out into unnecessary areas. Third is that it should be low level. They're typically referring to the brightness of the fixture. So using the lowest possible brightness, lumen output, so that it is not, again, being excessive or expanding into unwanted areas. Number 4 is that it should be controlled, so really using light only when it's necessary. So using motion sensors, timers, photocells, dimming, all those sorts of different things can work either in solo or in tandem with each other to control the light and again meet some of these aforementioned goals. And then 5, very importantly, is that it's also warm colored. So we use warmer lights whenever possible. The maximum threshold in terms of a color temperature they give is a 3000 Kelvin, but they encourage even lower color temperatures, 2700, 2400, as well as into the amber spectrum. All of those warmer color temperatures are less disruptive to animals, to wildlife, and to sort of the natural circadian rhythms that exist in biology. So I mentioned the Dark Sky Approved program. This is a very important part of the organization. So really they approve certification of products as well as designs and completed projects. So there's 3 different sort of parts to that. The products category in regards to luminaires really has a pretty strict set of criteria. There are a few different classifications in terms of the type of luminaire that can fall under the Dark Sky Approved program. So there's some commercial grade fixtures, there's more residential grade. You can see sort of really clearly spelled out in their standards. But in general, across the board, it limits light output to a certain number of lumens based on that category. It's going to really limit uplight and high angle light. So there can't be really any uplight in the fixture, and that very high angle, which is the sort of 80 to 90 degree angles on the chart here, those are very limited in their output. In other words, pretty much the entirety of the light fixture, the light source needs to put the light down below the light fixture itself. Those CCTs of the fixture must be 3000 Kelvin or less. The fixture must be dimmable to 10% or less of its maximum output. And overall, when you're sort of evaluating fixtures, you can always look out for that Dark Sky Approved label that you see there. That's going to ensure that this has met the Dark Sky Approved standards, has been submitted to them for review, and has met that approval. So moving on to the next sort of standard in our toolkit or in the world out there today is turtle safe lighting. So sea turtles and light have a very sort of unique relationship. Sea turtles lay their eggs on beaches throughout the coastline. This is particularly prominent in the state of Florida. This is the first place that really championed turtle safe lighting as a concept. So when the turtles lay their eggs there on the beach, the hatchlings, after they hatch out of their eggs, navigate back to the ocean by way of moonlight. So the moonlight is a very bright source of light in the nighttime sky. It's a very cool source of light in the nighttime sky as well. So because of that, turtles have really evolved to have their vision be sensitive to that very blue end of the spectrum of light. Partly because of that, and partly also because as you go down deep in the ocean and below the water, the red part of the spectrum really gets filtered out first. So that's what you see down in the deeper parts of the water. So that turtle vision is very sensitive to the blue end of the spectrum and not very sensitive to the red end of the spectrum as a consequence. So artificial light at night in any sort of uncontrolled manner really interferes with this process. What was happening and what was being noticed as the Florida coastline was developed, and there were cities being built and bright lights being put out places, is that the turtles started navigating towards the inland and not towards the sea after they were hatching, and therefore not surviving, unfortunately. So the state of Florida implemented through the Florida Fish and Wildlife Conservation Commission, hereby known as the FWCC to be short, they implemented a turtle safe lighting standards program. So there's three primary components to this turtle safe standard. It's keep it long, keep it low, and keep it shielded, which we'll get into in just a second. In addition to the standards that they've set forth, they also do run an FWC wildlife lighting certification program for fixtures. That program has been on sort of an administrative pause for the last couple of years, though I do believe it is starting to ramp back up and starting to take more submissions. So just something to be aware of in that front. But getting back to those sort of core principles of keep it long, keep it low, and keep it shielded. So similar to some of these dark sky principles, we want to keep the light fixtures here as physically low as possible. And in addition to that, a very low wattage and a low lumen output. So really, again, keeping things targeted into a specific location, a low lumen output, so we're using just the bare minimum amount of light necessary. And then the really most important part of this whole thing is keep it long. So it's a long wavelength fixture, which we'll get into in the next slide. So that long wavelength fixture, like I said, turtles are really not sensitive to the red amber end of the visible light spectrum. So any light source that's used in a turtle-friendly application should have no wavelengths below 560 nanometers. So essentially, it's cutting out all of the blue end of the spectrum and using only the sort of amber into red end of the spectrum instead. This is important, or an important caveat here is that it must be the light source itself that is of this spectrum. We can't use gels or filters. Those, even with LED sources, can have inherent problems of sort of burning out and not being effective over time. So that's not an appropriate use or an appropriate way to achieve this. It has to be a light source that's innately absent of 560 nanometers and below. Finally, keeping it shielded is another important part of this. So both in the fixture type that we're selecting, you can't have sort of a naked exposed bulb. Any sort of point source should have a trim, be shielded, whether it's a snoot, a pinhole, any standard deep regress trim. Things like that will work. And the location that is implemented through the project as well should really shield it as much as possible from the coastline and from the shore where those turtles are hatching. So three really big important pieces. Again, keep it long, keep it low, and keep it shielded. Turtle-friendly lighting ordinances. So these standards are really implemented and enforced throughout pretty much the entirety of the state of Florida. It is important to note that they're really enforced at a local level. So be it cities, municipalities, different villages, beach communities, it might vary in the region that you're living in or that the project is in. But virtually all parts of the Florida coastline are going to have some turtle-safe lighting legislation that's been enacted. There's an important thing here also called the CCCL, or the Coastal Construction Control Line. This sort of mandates a number of things from not only turtle safe lighting, but hurricane safe building practices and a number of other things. But it's really a line that's sort of drawn within a certain distance of the coastline that is going to dictate where these turtle safe lighting ordinances are going to need to be enacted. So one thing just to really note here again is that these are going to vary based on the area of the state that you're in. And the time of year that they're enacted as well is going to vary depending on that place. Most turtle safe lighting ordinances go into effect in the summertime, so roughly between May and October. But certain places might differ a little bit. It could be June when it starts, could be April when it starts, and it might vary a little bit on the other end as well. So just take note of that, and really, if you're doing a project within Florida, look for those specific codes and regulations. Similarly, like I said, to dark sky, they maintain, or the FWC maintains a wildlife lighting certification program. So it certifies fixtures to be turtle safe. It really needs to meet the 3 requirements that we've already stated. So no wavelengths below 560 nanometers. That is the strictest and most important requirement of the certification program. It can also have no uplight above that 90-degree nadir from the fixture. So those 2 together are going to be the strictest and the most important things to abide by. The last one is a low wattage and a low lumen output. This last one isn't really specified with any quantifiable numbers here in this standard. So it's leaving it up a little bit more to the program to interpret what is appropriate for the installation and the fixture type. So the last wildlife-friendly lighting standard that we have is bird-friendly lighting. So bird-friendly lighting or bird-friendly lighting ordinances have additionally become a pretty common thing throughout the country in different areas. Migratory birds are going to be one of the most susceptible things to artificial light at night. So migratory birds typically migrate during the nighttime and rest during the daytime. So using all that artificial light at night can really interrupt and cause problems with those patterns. Things like in the fall migration seasons, they tend to be the busiest time of year for these animals to migrate. And if you have things like foggy weather and bright light at night, those can be in particular issues and cause problems for those birds as they navigate through the night sky. Birds in particular also can be, they navigate through that night sky in similar ways to turtles by using light as one of those primary sources. So what will happen is that as they're going through the sky and they see maybe a bright building that's lit up, they can sort of become entrapped and circle around that building for a long period of time. They become confused and sort of are stuck navigating around that one building rather than the navigation course that they're supposed to be on. So bird-friendly lighting ordinances really focus on, again, reducing the use of light as much as possible, reducing the wavelength of light, so keeping it on, again, the lower, more amber end of the spectrum. And another big strategy here is to use timers, both if it's controlling light and turning it off when it's absolutely not used, so photocells, motion sensors, and those types of things, but also periods of time where the lights are turned completely off. So if you do have, let's say, a flock of birds that's migrating and becomes entrapped in this area, turning the lights off for about 15 minutes will give them enough time to sort of free themselves and continue back on their proper path. In terms of the different sort of ordinances and places where these bird-friendly lighting ordinances exist, these really vary quite a bit more by sort of locality and territory than a lot of other wildlife-friendly lighting standards. One of the most notable bird-friendly lighting standards out there is in the county of Maui. So they have very similar wavelength requirements, the no wavelength below 560 nanometers, and sort of similar or same shielding and no uplight components as well. So it's quite similar, if not almost identical, to some of the turtle-friendly lighting standards that we see. So therefore, in the county of Maui, we've seen a lot of essentially turtle-friendly lighting being implemented not only throughout the coastlines, but throughout the entirety of the city. So that's one sort of important or notable place to look at in terms of these ordinances and how they're being adopted. Another great resource to point to is the Yale Bird Friendly Building Initiative. So this is a database of different ordinances around the country, whether it's, again, by city, municipality, different states. So it sort of breaks down what exists in those different types of places. So with those three different wildlife-friendly lighting standards in mind, I'll get a little bit into the different wildlife-friendly lighting fixtures that we have here at DMF. So these really are broken into two categories and are similarly available in two different fixture families that we have here at DMF right now. So the first is going to be dark sky approved. So these are going to fall into our M and X series downlights and cylinders. And then we do have, again, turtle-friendly lighting solutions within the M and X series downlights and cylinders families as well. So to start off with, for those dark sky approved fixtures, the M and X series families of downlights and cylinders are 4-inch and 2-inch downlight families respectively. So any fixed downlight within the family is going to meet a dark sky approved certification. So we have our fixed downlight. I shouldn't say any, but our fixed downlights fall into that category with a few of those exceptions here that are on the screen. So we have the exclusion of our decorative trims. So our decorative trims have an acrylic element that is going to negate the uplight and high uplight component of the requirements here. So our standard trims, our pinhole trims, and even our hyperbolic trims are all going to fall into that category and be safe for use in dark sky compliant installations. The fixed downlights in the M series are a 4-inch fixed downlight family, and then in our X series are 2-inch fixtures. The X series also is able to qualify with the adjustable fixture. So even though it has up to 35 degrees of tilt, the element or the light element is fully recessed above the trim. So you can have some degree of positionability, but we're still maintaining that no uplight component or requirement within the standard here. So this is one great place where you can have an adjustable fixture and still have that dark sky compliant installation. And then in terms of the cylinders in the family, again, our cylinders have a wide range of configuration options. We have an X series as well as an M series cylinder here in the wall mount versions. So these are all going to be compliant with any of them that have only a downlight and not an uplight built in. Again, complying with that sort of very key tenet of dark sky compliant fixtures. And then all of these must be within the 3000 Kelvin CCT or less. So for us, we have a 3000 option, we have a 2700, and now a 2400. That can be a really great option for dark sky friendly lighting. Our warm dim as well is going to be compliant with that because it's a 3000 to 1800. So all of those different options are going to work for those dark sky compliant installations. If you're doing any sort of dark sky friendly or dark sky compliant installations, when you're looking through the spec sheet on these two different fixture families, you can see some of the different exclusions, and in the footnotes it'll be very clearly spelled out which ones are not dark sky compliant, but the vast majority, again, of the options for the fixed downlights are going to be compliant options here. The next set of options that we're going to have are those turtle-friendly options. So once again, within the M and X series downlights and cylinders, we have a turtle-friendly option that can be specified as well. So our turtle-friendly option is a 300 lumen turtle-friendly CCT. So it is that very deep amber, nothing below 560 nanometers. So it's a 0 to 10 volt dimmable 300 lumen output, and again in that turtle-friendly CCT. So this one module option is available again throughout the M and X series downlights and cylinders. So it can be specified in that very specific uh, module option. This is also a great pairing for some of our new marine grade options. So the M series has a new 4-inch marine grade trim, and we have a new sort of line of marine grade cylinder options. So that's a standard marine grade finish in black or white on our cylinder options, and those are all configured to be an IP65 rated cylinder. So great for those coastal areas where you have, salt fog, salt spray, high humidity levels. It's going to be very protective of the fixture, and we can now build in those turtle-friendly CCT options that are going to give you turtle and wildlife friendly lighting throughout your project. I have another example here of the X series downlights with sort of a darker trim and a hex louver option as well. So there's a number of options here for reducing glare and keeping everything very low output, shielded, and really compliant for all of these different wildlife friendly lighting standards. And so with that, those are all the sort of different wildlife-friendly lighting options that we have to share with you all today. I'll stick around for a few minutes if anybody has some or any additional questions. Please feel free to drop them in the Q&A. Otherwise, I want to thank you all for joining us, and I hope to see you again soon.